Hello and welcome to the oddschecker podcast. This is the podcast and video preview of the US PGA Championship 2020. It's just like the old days. It's August and we're talking about the PGA Championship, but not for any reasons that we would have expected. But to make some sense of it all, to make some sense of the field, to take us through what the challenges are going to be at Harding Park. Very happy to have oddschecker's golf tipster Niall Lyons and the analyst from the 15th Club, Dylan Beirne, joining me today, both from over the Irish Sea, although northern and southern. How are you guys getting on?
Yeah, not too bad. Looking forward to this week. It's been a year we've been waiting on a major, so yeah, it should be a good few days.
Yeah, we had to kind of not feign excitement, but we had to kind of drum up the importance of the British Masters when we last spoke a couple of weeks ago. No need to do that whatsoever here, with an absolutely stellar field in California. And as ever, the first place we have to start is the course, because, always, whenever it's golf betting, whenever we're talking about, who's going to win where, it's always horses for courses. And TPC Harding Park is maybe a bit more of an unknown than we're used to in this competition. Dylan, the work that you guys do at the 15th Club, a lot of it is analysing courses and looking at, how you can approach courses in certain ways, which players are going to suit certain courses. So what can you tell us about this test in California?
Yeah, I guess like you say, I suppose it's a little bit of an unknown relative to kind of week to week on the PGA Tour anyway. We've got a little bit of information from the match play in 2015 there and a very small amount from the President's Cup there as well. But yeah, the general picture that's kind of appearing is that it's going to suit long drivers, good drivers and long drivers. What we've sort of found is that missing the fairway is probably not going to be all that penal. It's one of the kind of least penal, well, historically anyway, on the tour. And then putting is going to be quite difficult. So it looks like it's going to be quite difficult to hit it close to the hole, probably because it's going to be quite a lot of longer approach shots, but it's going to be quite difficult to get it inside 15 feet. So I think putting, it looks like it's going to be quite hard, but it's going to be quite important as well. So yeah, really the key things that we've picked up on will be really driving distance and sort of, the ability to hold a lot of putts, which kind of narrows the field quite a lot, I suppose.
It absolutely does. I certainly wouldn't be doing very well. Niall, your research into the course, probably more kind of anecdotal than the kind of statistical side that Dylan looks at. Has that echoed what you've come out with as well?
Yeah, a little bit different. Funnily enough, I wrote in my preview that I didn't think the short game was going to be all that important this week, nor did I think putting would be a huge issue. Well, I went back, as sad and pathetic as golf analysts are, I went back and watched 3 or 4 hours of the match play final there a couple of days ago from 2015. And as Dylan says, I think the biggest test is off the tee, funnily enough. Dylan says maybe he won't be punished that much for missing a fairway, but so many of the holes move right to left for a start, so it suits a draw of the golf ball. There is a couple of holes that suit a fade as well, but it's mostly dog legs right to left. And I was really surprised by how many holes requires you to shape the ball off the tee. So I think, McIlroy, when he won the match play in 2015, McIlroy is one of the best shapers of the ball in the game. He can hit it both ways. Placing his ball in the fairway, for me, made the difference that week. Give him ample opportunity to get closer to the flags than others. I thought the greens were quite open-ended when I looked at the course. Missing a fairway, you could almost run the ball in towards the green. You could run the ball up towards the green. But primarily speaking, I thought the test was off the tee, and I think those who can't shape the ball around the corners are going to be at a distinct disadvantage this week.
Certainly, with Rory winning that match play, somebody who struggles not to hit the ball right to left and has a huge drive, that does play into that. And Tiger Woods, someone who, back when he was a bit of a different player in terms of power and length, as someone who enjoyed playing at this course, whether in a tour event or in the President's Cup, Just before we go through the runners and riders and the place terms and things, I'm just going to point you in the direction of the oddschecker app, because if you are listening to this podcast or you're watching this video, it means you're quite clearly interested in golf and quite interested in your punting. And if that's the case, you'd be mad not to have the oddschecker app downloaded on your phone for all of the best prices across all the big bookmakers, all the best place terms, free bets, bookie offers, and of course, the best tipsters in the game. And that's where we're going to start, because normally we would start at the top of the market and run through the protagonists. It kind of feels impossible to do that in golf these days, because when you've got top class players around about the 33-1 mark, such as Tiger Woods or Patrick Cantlay at 28-1, we'd be here all day if we were going to run through all of the top players in the world. But I'll run through the top few in the market at best price on the oddschecker app. You've got Brooks Koepka and Justin Thomas, the two that battled it out for the WGC on the weekend, both at 10-1. John Rahm, the winner the weekend before, at 14-1. Rory McIlroy with course form at 14-1. Bryson DeChambeau, who Niall said a couple of weeks ago was the best in the game. He's struggled to really beef out on that form for a couple of weeks ago, no pun intended, 16-1. Xander Schauffele, 18-1. And that's where I'm going to stop, because that currently has a shiny gold star next to his name, Niall. 3 points each way. It's a big one. I know that you're expecting your second kid on Sunday, and I have a feeling if this one goes in, chances are if he's a boy, it could be called Xander.
Yeah, well, he is a boy actually. So
we already know.
Yeah, I think he must have every chance. Obviously we backed him last week, and I thought he was basically a shade unfortunate. The 8 that he had
hit an 8, yeah.
Yeah, the quadruple. He obviously finished 4 shots off the lead in the end, and he finished 4 shots off the lead and dropped 4 shots in that one hole. I think there was only a couple of deviations from par all week. We know his credentials. He's obviously he has a great major record so far, and it's a short career. It's only 3 or 4 years old, his career really, and he's shown he can win the best events. He's won a WGC in China, and he's won the 3rd championship, of course, at Eastlake. Some great finishes in major championships, as I said. And he's just trending in that direction. And don't get me wrong, I don't think there's much value in the price. I think his price is right. But, when we're tasked of coming up with bets in these golf markets, not every bet is going to be value at the end of the day. But I think tee to green, especially, he's in great shape. He hits the ball a long way, hits it right to left. I think that's going to suit Harding Park. Basically, just hoping that he can hold a few putts over the weekend. His short game hasn't been in the best shape over the last couple of months, but his tee to green game's in some shape now. And I think among the top 5 or 6 in the market, he's the one that appears the most attractive.
He's 18-1 with Bet365, William Hill, Bet Victor, Sporting Bet and Genting Bet. But I should say, bookies really going for it with their place terms this weekend in what is such a competitive field. Sky Bet, 11 places they are. 11. I don't think I've ever seen that before. 16-1 they are about Xander. The best place terms you're getting, the best price there at 18-1 is Hills, 9 places currently. But no, you're not the only tipster I've seen to put him up this weekend, and the price is already starting to go. So we'll see what price he goes off. We won't move on quite yet because he's a headline selection, Dylan. I'm going to get your thoughts, and feel free to either agree or debunk everything Niall's just said about the man he might be calling King Xander.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with any of that. I think probably the most impressive thing about him has been his kind of performance in contention. I was just having a look there this morning at some of the players who have been most impressive within a few shots of the lead over the past few years, and I think he's as good as he is to start with. He's actually 9th in terms of raising his game when in contention. So, yeah, very hard to argue with that. He's definitely, no question, he's got the game. He's got the mentality to win a major. I think he's in the top 25 in driving distance worldwide as well. So, ties in with that. Something I think I looked at for the Masters last year was who has the ability to kind of get hot with the putter. And he was one of the top ones in that ranking as well. So, yeah, hard to argue with any of that. I think, as Niall said, I don't think there's a lot of value in his price. I think that, the 18s there, obviously the 9 places helps, but yeah, I mean, I think it's it's a pretty fair price. It's probably a shade of value in it. So yeah, I mean, obviously wouldn't be at all surprised if he went on to win it.
I know, Dylan, you guys have your own kind of metrics in terms of the strength of golfers and their form. And at the moment, it seems like we have a new world number one pretty much every week in the official world golf rankings, with Rory being dethroned by Jon Rahm and now Justin Thomas going to number one on the weekend. And those are three of the the ones above Schauffele in the market, headed up by Koepka as well, who of course has been number one for a fair few months in his career already. Who do you, not to give away all your secrets, but who do you guys have at the moment as being the best golfer in the world?
Yeah, we've got JT. I think he's about a third of a stroke ahead in first place. Yeah, he's a third of a stroke ahead of Rahm in second, and then there's like a tenth of a stroke back to Rory.
Really?
It's pretty tight, yeah, but it has, like, similarly to the OWGR, it's jumped around a bit the last while, because during the lockdown, Rory was number one. Then Rahm, I think, took it over relatively quickly. It was very tight for a good while. So yeah, that's the top three for us. They're a bit like, I mean, obviously with Koepka at the top end of the market there, he's like, I think he's barely top 20 in our rankings, because it's based on normal week-to-week performance.
Based on what he's actually done on the golf course recently, rather than
exactly
previous exertions.
We added in a major factor into our model just to pretty much account for him, because it just, when we were running kind of simulations of major and stuff, it just didn't seem right that he would sit like 25th in the betting or whatever. So we've added that in, and he was, I mentioned the performance in contention already, but he's number one by an absolute mile in that. So no surprise there. But yeah, for the top ones, JT, I think he's justified at the price that he is there. He'd be a favourite for me. I think realistically, Koepka, I think, should probably be a little bit longer. I think obviously just last week, a lot of that's what the price that he's at is based on, his performance last week, rather than anything he's done recently. So and obviously the fact that he's won the last two of these, but it's still hard to look at kind of 10-1 on him, given his kind of week-to-week performance, and I think there might be value there. So for me, I think JT he'd actually probably be like the standout favourite in the market. I think if he was 10s and then Koepka was back at like 14s or something, it would probably look a little bit better to me.
Presumably JT must rank pretty highly in contention metric as well. Seems to come alive when he's always with a slice of luck along the way, but as we saw again on Sunday, but always seems to turn it on when he's within touching distance.
Yeah, I think he's 20th, I think, in the wide rankings. Yeah, he picks up his game, not a huge amount, but he picks up his game a little bit in contention. All right, yeah, it's actually less than I would have expected, to be honest.
Yeah. But, yeah. Interesting that. So Niall, what do you make with these top two? Because as Dylan alludes to, that 10-1 about Koepka seems to be based on a decent performance last weekend, of course, in a WGC where the purse is a little bit higher, and again in the last two PGA Championships, and just his general major form. But could you be backing, given that he was 33-1 last week in a much smaller field, also again where he has course form and the kind of I know the grass type as well was something that Koepka's excelled on in the past. What do you make of this price now?
Yeah, I think it's very short as well. I'm surprised how short he's gone. I really am. Before the second at the weekend, he went miscut, 62nd miscut, and then second. That's not the form of a major championship favourite, is it? And his driving went missing when it really mattered at the weekend there as well. On Sunday, hitting it into the water on 18 when Thomas was under pressure, missing the green. I'm really, really surprised at how short he's gone. I don't even think I'd back him at 14-1, to be honest. I've sat over the last couple of days, mulling over whether I should back Justin Thomas, because I agree with Dylan. I think he's a strong favourite. Just tee to green, he's been so solid lately. I can't see him out of the mix, mind you. Reading some quotes from him yesterday would worry a little bit of going in around the 10-1 mark, that he's worried about the amount of draws needed off the tee. he often fades the ball, and he says he's got to adapt to that. So maybe that's a slight negative, but just maybe the win at the weekend taking a lot out of him too. I think it was just maybe enough to put me off back in the 10-1, but it was a hard decision to steer clear of him, to be honest.
So those are the two favourites at 10-1. And three players who, to my non-expert eye, seem to kind of fit in with the course model that you guys have spoken about. And Jon Rahm, Rory McIlroy and Bryson DeChambeau. Three guys who can hit the ball a very long way. Three guys who can shape the ball the right way and who have a decent long iron game. Let's start with Rahm then, who hit world number one after his win a couple of weeks ago, and then was disappointing last weekend when he may have been carrying my money. So if I'm sounding a little bit upset, then please forgive me. But at 14-1, it feels to me, and this might be a very muggy thing to say, but at that price, you can be pretty sure that Jon Rahm's going to win one of these fairly soon. And I don't think you're going to have to back him 14 times before you strike gold. Now, what do you make of his chances this weekend?
The 14-1 isn't for me personally, but yeah, you're totally right that you would expect him to win one of the next 14, and he probably won't be an awful lot shorter than that for any of them, to be fair, unless he does something really
unless he
special
wins one, I guess. Yeah.
But one of the big trends, not that I'm a trends man, but the PGA over the last number of years has been played the week after WGC. The last couple of years it's obviously been in St Jude, and before that it was Bridgestone, and you've always seen a spot of form going into it. Now, obviously, Rahm won a couple of weeks ago, but his performance last week would be enough to put me off, especially at 14-1. He's the type of player who could, at the weekend, you could just be really disappointed that you didn't get involved with him because it seems so obvious, because the game suits perfectly, on paper to Harding Park, but his performance last week was enough to put me off backing him.
Dylan, out of those three, Rahm, McIlroy and DeChambeau, I mean, McIlroy his game seems to be in pretty poor shape from what I can see. Who do you see of those three being the best value at the prices?
I'd probably lean a little bit towards McIlroy. To be honest, I might not back any of the three. I think when you look at the field, there's probably slightly better value elsewhere. Yeah, if I had to pick one, it'd probably be McIlroy, partially because, I agree with what Niall was saying about shot shaping. I think the fairways curve a lot there, and we had a look at the left-right miss penalty, and I think, I think missing left is more penal. So you need to be able to kind of control your ball quite well. Obviously, the course, small bit of course history that McIlroy has there is obviously a positive. He hasn't done much since the restart, but when Rahm won 2 weeks ago, he hadn't done much either. So I'm not too concerned about that. He's still, he's still a top 3 player in the world. Probably not going to get 14-1 on Rory and majors all that often. So
no.
If I was going to take one of them, it'd probably be him. DeChambeau, to be fair, there's a fair chance he actually won't have to shape it. He might be able to just bomb it. I don't know exactly like
straight over the dog legs.
Yeah. Well, he said that recently, didn't he? They said, "What are you going to do with the dog legs?" And he said, "Obliterate them." Which is quite an interesting answer, but I think just Rory would probably just shade it at those three for me.
But Niall, it's interesting that you say that it could be one with Rahm where you're sitting there on Sunday thinking, "Oh, it was too obvious." With me, it's Bryson. I can't really bring myself to back him really. But then it's the one where you look at it on Saturday evening, you wake up to Sunday morning and Bryson's 4 clear, and you've said a couple of weeks ago he's the best in the business. We know that he can drive the ball an absolute mile now. We know that actually he needs to be quite far away from the green to seemingly actually stick the ball close to the pin as well, which seemingly will suit him here. Is this not the one where you'd think to yourself, how have I let that one go?
Yeah, well, just to clarify, I said he was the best at that time.
Yeah, of course.
A couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I didn't mean that he was the best golfer
No.
of all the bracket, but at the same time, I thought he was playing the best golf at the time. And now I don't think he's playing the best golf. I think Thomas is playing the best golf, and maybe Rahm as well, maybe ahead of him. But of the five at the front of the market, if I had to back one, it would be weighing it up between McIlroy and at the prices, like just at McIlroy and DeChambeau, and I would probably edge towards DeChambeau, to be honest. Uh, as you say, it's just one of those ones where you could just really kick yourself, especially with some of the stuff that I was saying about a month ago. I think he will probably obliterate them dog legs. I don't know whether a par 70 will really suit. A a couple more par fives might have suited the Shambo better, but nevertheless, as you say, it does look an obvious. He looks an obvious contender, and I think he probably will contend. But for me, it's one of the best 9, 10, 11 place markets we've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen an amount of golfers between 33 and 150 to 1 that look like obvious potential placers as well. So I think the front end of the market just looks slightly less attractive than usual.
Well, let's quickly go through the ones, the other ones that have stars by their name, the other ones that you've tipped up here, Niall. We've got Hideki Matsuyama, who's currently 40 to 1. Daniel Berger, who hit the lead briefly with a very good Sunday round on the weekend. He's also 40 to 1. We've got Matt Fitzpatrick, currently 45 to 1. I would absolutely love to see Matt Fitzpatrick win a major, I must say. Shane Lowry, 70 to 1, last year's Open Championship winner. Billy Horschel, 90 to 1. And Bubba Watson, wow, at 110 to 1. We've spoken about shaping the ball, I guess. So I'm sure that fits in there. Can you just, at your own pace, at your own time, just kind of fill us in briefly on those on that stable of golfers you've got running for you this weekend?
Yeah, Matsuyama is one of them hanging my head. I can't believe, and I'm backing, to be honest. You told me a couple of months ago that back Matsuyama in a major. I've continually thought he's been an overrated golfer in the market, especially in the major market, for many years now. And I don't think I've ever backed him in a major. And I don't back him that often either, because I don't think his price is ever that much value. I don't think it's tremendous value this week either. But he's hitting the ball so well, tee to green. I've looked at the last 24 rounds, basically. That takes in basically since the restart. And he ranks 5th in strokes gained, tee to green, and 4th on approach. And for me, they're the two valuable stats this week. That's the story of Matsuyama's game. Obviously, we know that he's great tee to green, but the short game lets him down. Just hoping he can hit enough greens that the short game doesn't come under pressure too often.
I think Hideki Lyons has a great ring to it as well. So that would be. But yeah, I do feel sorry for you, because I've done this. I've spoken to you both about this before, and you're going to be on. I know you can actually watch it fairly live, but you're going to be on the PGA Tour tracker, and you're going to see so many times Hideki Matsuyama hits it 7 foot, miss putt. Hideki Matsuyama hits it 6 foot, miss putt, and it's enough to basically make you not enjoy the tournament at all. But this is the part when Hideki goes and wins that they're going to clip up and put back on Twitter. So I'm looking forward to that already.
Yeah, there could be loud shouts of Baba Booey in a hospital on Sunday night, ringing around the corridors. But here he led at Sawgrass, the tournament that was cancelled. Obviously, at the first round lead there, he shot 63. Obviously, that's the biggest event of the year so far. It never got played out, but the first round, I think it's worth noting that he blitzed the fielder in round 1, and that's what he's capable of.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'll run through the rest of them just quickly, and then maybe Dylan can give some thoughts on them.
Yeah.
Daniel Berger, obviously playing unbelievable stuff this last couple of months, and he was playing good before the lockdown as well. One thing I'm looking to is the US Open, actually, last year, Pebble Beach. I think any decent finish there, top 25, top 30 there, is a positive, because at San Francisco, obviously the temperatures, it's going to be a lot colder than what they would normally be used to on the PGA Tour, really. There's often cold mornings, mist comes in. It's difficult conditions. So Matsuyama had a 21st last year at the US Open, actually. Berger was in the top 5. He finished 5th at Pebble Beach this year, the Pro-Am event. Not that I'm leaning too much weight on that, but it's another positive. His results have been unbelievable since the restart. Won Charles Schwab, 2nd at St Jude, 3rd at the Heritage. He just looks an obvious contender to me. I just can't see him out of the mix. His game suits as well. I think everything's going for him. So I think, I don't know where he ranks in Dylan, your kind of stats over the last number of months, but I can only imagine that he's up there right with the best golfers in the world right now. I'll move on. You can give your thoughts in a minute. Fitzpatrick is another obvious contender, I think, playing the third at the Memorial. I said in the write-up a couple of weeks ago, I thought it could be a breakout result. And I was actually chatting to Dylan earlier on in the year, and I was saying that I really fancied him to possibly win a major this year. And now I think this is probably his best chance, and it reflects in the betting, to be fair. Sixth last week, St. Jude. He's obviously got 2 wins at Cross-sur-Sierra. This is a 3-lane track. We know that he likes a more claustrophobic track. He won at Woburn as well, and he's shown that he can win a top quality field event by winning the DP World Tour Championship in Dubai a couple of years ago. So everything going for Fitz, playing the golf of his career so far. So I think he's a decent shout this week. Shane Lowry. Obviously, if I'm back in 7 this week, it's a lot, but nevertheless, I think taking advantage of the places on offer is necessary. Larry was 6th in Tee to Green last week. We backed him. Obviously, he got a piece of the place for us at 150 to 1. The Callie's back on the bag after a fair while off, and he's another one with good record at Wentworth. I think he's finished runner up there, and a couple other, at least one of their top 5 and a couple of top 10s. So likes the classic 3-lined American track. Obviously, he's won at the Bridgestone as well. So I think he goes well at decent prices. Again, as I've said, these prices from 33s to 100s, I think there's a lot of value about with the places. Finally, finished off a couple of longer prices. Billy Horschel. We look towards trends of winning these major championships. Obviously, not winning our first-time major winners is a trend now for a long time. And I think there's a fair amount of weight in that, but maybe that extra amount of desire. There's no doubt if you win a major, I think, not that you wouldn't want the second one as much, but the guys who haven't won one, just there might be that just extra bit in them as they go down the stretch the weekend of the major. Horschel's one of them. Obviously, hasn't won a major, but he's won everything else. He's won the FedEx a couple of years, or 2014. He actually won back-to-back playoff events that year. Playing quite well recently as well. The 2 weeks at Muirfield Village, he finished 7th and 13th, inside the top 50 in the world, which is a decent trend for a major championship as well. 25th last week, which is not too bad. I think if he goes on to contend, I think his game suits the Harding track too. If he goes on to contend and maybe win major championship at the weekend, he'll be one who everyone thinks, Horschel, he wasn't far. Years ago, you would have thought that he might have won a major and just maybe gone a bit quiet since. But he's playing good golf lately under the radar. And then Watson, as you say, big triple figure price this week. 25th last week, he was all right. He ranked 15th in putting last week, which is often his downfall. You would imagine if you back Watson, you'd be tearing your hair out over the weekend on the greens. But he was 15th last week. I think the shot shape will suit him. He was quoted in 2015 when he teed up with the match play saying that the course suited him and the shot shape suited his left or right fade off the tee. And he's won 3 times at Riviera, another 3-lined classical track that you need to shape the ball off the tee as well. Just hope there's some improvement in his approach play, which hasn't been great the last couple of weeks. But nevertheless, I just thought it was worth taking a chance on him with triple figures with the places. So that's all the bets anyway this week.
There you have it. 7 up for Niall. And he's rattled through his reasoning behind all of them. You can find the write-up as well on the oddschecker app now. Dylan, I'm not going to ask you to pick them all apart, but interested in your thoughts on any of those.
Yeah, I think there's a few of them definitely would have overlapped with what I kind of saw as value. So Matsuyama was one of the top value picks for me, but I backed him a lot over the past probably 12 months.
I don't have the scores.
I backed him a lot over the last 12 years. I mean, it's just
I actually at the President's Cup in December, he was hitting on the range. I think it was on the Sunday, and I stood behind him, and like as a ball striker, he's definitely in the top 2 or 3 most impressive that I've ever seen. I mean, but watching him on the range is the place to watch him. Maybe not so much on the course, but yeah. I mean, if you're ever at an event and he's there, definitely spend a couple of minutes behind him, because just actually listening to him hitting drivers is phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, he would have been at 40s there. He'd be value for me. I think, yeah, you touched on Berger. He's actually 6th in our rankings at the minute. You know, he was in phenomenal form pre-break, and obviously picked it up again after the break. So and got the win too. So yeah, he'd be one for me. He's not the longest. He's probably going to be giving up kind of 15 yards on average, I think, over all his drives to the likes of Rory and probably a bit more to DeChambeau. So that's not ideal around here, but I think, yeah, just the quality of his overall game would make him a good price.
Is that an issue with Matt Fitzpatrick as well in terms of distance off the tee?
He's actually, I know he's done a good bit of work over the last 18 months or so, you know, trying to add distance, and he added an inch to his driver to try and squeeze out a bit more. So he's picked up a bit. He's actually kind of similar length to Berger now, and he's up. If you look at all his drives, so not just the measured ones, but all the drives, he's actually up at kind of similar length to Tiger, Morikawa, and
Really?
those. Yeah, he's not far short. Now he's given up a bit of distance, but he's picked it up a bit, and because he's so accurate, he can use the driver quite a lot. It's probably a somewhat overlooked element of, you know, the shorter hitters' game sometimes, is that, you know, if they are accurate enough and they can use driver, you know, once or twice per round more than the kind of opponents, then it boosts their overall driving distance and it helps the game. So he'd fall into that category. He's one of only 4 players in the world that's ranked top 50 in driving and putting. So yeah, I mean, he'd be one for me. I think I'm not probably going to back too many of the shorter hitters, but he'll probably be one of them, I think. Yeah. So yeah, I like him. Horschel was another one. I think I made Horschel like 66s. So he was 120s, 125s yesterday, I think.
Yeah, on Betfair, 90 to 1 if you want to back him each way, about 125 on Betfair Exchange.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, no brainer there for me. Again, I actually thought he was a little bit longer. He's only a shade longer than Fitz in terms of his driving as well. But yeah, I mean, he's one where when he's at his best, he's probably a top 10 player in the world. And he's kind of rounded into a bit of form again. I had a look at his major record. It's actually not the best. I think he only has like 1 top 10 in the major and something like 25 starts. So not great there, but yeah, I think just in terms of his absolute quality, yeah, he'd be good enough for me. I think the rest of them hadn't really popped up for me, but yeah, fair bit of overlap there.
So who has popped up for you?
There was an interesting one I just came across this morning. So in the course, the biggest impact range in terms of approach shots that we've picked out is 175 to 200. It's way more important than any other range, and it's unusually high for any course really. So it looks like they're going to have you know, a lot of very important shots from that range. And then I had a look at the rankings on the PGA Tour of who's leading the proximity in that range. It's actually John Senden, who I believe was he got to the quarters in the match play. So it's just an interesting one. But second in that is currently Terrell Hatton.
Is he in the field sounding, is he?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Don't think so, no, sadly.
No, it was just an interesting
return descendant.
Yeah, but no,
I thought we were on the top Aussie bet there.
No, it was just an overlap, an interesting one that popped up. But yeah, so second in that is Terrell Hatton. There's actually 3 of them at 50s there that I quite like, but Hatton is one of them. He'd be, I mean, you know, looking at his form over the past, I think it probably goes back to the end of last year. You know, he's flown up our rankings. We've got him at 14th at the minute, so he's just ahead of, you know, the likes of Woodland, Tiger, Fleetwood. So he's in that kind of company. I just think he should probably be a little bit shorter. I think he should be down in that range of sort of probably low 40s. So I think getting the 50s on him with all the places and then that extra little bonus of being really good from that 175 to 200 is a big plus for me. The other 2 at 50s, actually Hovland has gone out a little bit. So Hovland, He's probably a little bit, he's definitely a little bit unproven as of yet. But I think the ability is there, the driving distance is there. The big question mark over his game generally is his short game. I know he's doing a lot of work on it, but yeah, chipping's been poor. Something that on the course that we picked up on again is that when you miss the green, it's not that painful really, historically by the looks of it. So I'm not really too concerned about players that are not great around the greens. So he'd definitely fall into that category. So yeah, for those reasons, I think he's worth a go. And then the other one's Woodland. So he's a player who's he's actually, I mentioned Matsuyama being one of the most impressive ball strikers I've seen, and Woodland is probably in that top 3 as well. I actually watched him I was at the PGA last year and watched him on the range for quite a while, and he was aiming at this flag at the end of the range, and he was just hitting high hooks to it, fades. He's definitely got the shape, so that should suit him, and obviously he's got the course history as well. So he's got the ability to win a major. I think that chip on 17 last year was probably one of the shots of the year for me, really, to pull that off. So to do that in that situation, I think any question marks over his ability to get it done are gone. So yeah, he'd be one for me at that price. Moving up to a couple of the bigger prices, I think another interesting one who'd sort of fall into the category of not being a great short game player but having a good rest of his game is Erik van Rooyen. He's kind of settled into playing the PGA Tour a bit more the last few weeks. I think he's locked up his card for the PGA Tour next year as well, so the pressure's off him a little bit. If that was sort of hanging over his head this week, then you might be looking at him trying to hang on to like a 20th place rather than kind of pushing on to try and get a really high finish. I watched him a bit at Betpage last year. He was very impressive. He's another big hitter, and he's another one who ranks, I think he's top 100 in driving and putting. So he's in that kind of, the rather unusual range of being a good long driver and a really good putter. So yeah, I quite like him. I think he was 160s or something as well.
Yeah, 160 with Bet365, 150 with Sky Bet with 11 places as well.
Yeah. So I've listed out quite a few there, but yeah, they'd be the ones I like, I think.
Yeah, there's a few there that I found difficult to leave off the list there as well that you've mentioned. Hatton is one who's been playing unbelievable golf lately, and you would think is a perfect course fit for Harding Park as well. Last week was probably just enough to put me off. It was a bad performance, but nevertheless, Hatton can be one of those ones who get just down tools, when it's not going his way. So I don't know how much weight you could be put on that result last week, but Hovland was another one. Last week I was telling everybody that Hovland is a must bet this week. But again, last week just slightly put me off. It was one of the things that was almost a must for me. It was a good performance in the WGC last week. But Hovland, as you say, I think I've been as impressed by Hovland as I have been with Morikawa. And there's Morikawa is basically half the price of Hovland week to week. Hovland's long game looks absolutely phenomenal to me. I know he's got short game problems, but the long game looks as good as I've seen in anyone in the last 5 or 10 years. I'm so impressed by it. So I know you have to take a leap of faith that that he hasn't really played an awful lot of major championships and he could get the job done. But he's probably one extra bet that I'll go and place around the 10th place mark just in case he goes and wins. And as you say, Woodland as well was another one I found hard to leave off the list. Every shot shape in the game to make it work at Harding Park, and obviously he was the beaten finalist in 2015. So yeah, a lot of positives and a lot of. I think that as I said there earlier on, you've named all the golfers that I didn't. I had to leave off the list as well. I just don't think I've seen a tournament like it where there's about 10 or 12 obvious potential places, which if you back all of them, you would probably make money at the places,
Bad news, guys. I'm afraid the only golfer I've already backed is Victor Hovland. So you can throw those slips in the bin. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned now that he hasn't got much major form. He's played in two majors. He was tied 32nd in the Masters, and I think anybody making the cut on not only Masters debut but major debut is pretty impressive there. And then was tied 12th in the US Open as well. So 2 majors, and he's finished. He's got 1 top 20 and once just outside the top 30 as well, which suggests that he is up to the kind of mental task, I guess, that you're faced with when coming into these stellar fields with huge rewards if you can get your way to the top of the market as well. So he's 55-1, but good to see you guys agreeing on most. I think anybody watching or listening will have a pretty long shortlist now from Niall and from Dylan. So thank you both very, very much for sharing your wisdom with us. I recommend that you follow both of the guys on Twitter for some interesting. I reckon not Dylan's will be more kind of analytical coverage. Niall's will be bemoaning why one of his picks has managed to make a treble on a par 4 somewhere down the line. But hopefully, we'll be cheering home a couple of runners on Sunday. Make sure you download the oddschecker app immediately to get all the best prices, all the best bookie offers, all the best tipsters, as well across loads of different sports. Make sure you enjoy the golf. Thanks very much to both Dylan and Niall again. Niall, best of luck for Sunday. And this time I am talking about the birth of your son, not about the golf. But yeah, thanks both for joining. And please remember, please gamble responsibly.